Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to talk about Cleanspark news. We'll look at its chart and something that I'm keeping an eye on. We also have some news from the spot Bitcoin ETFs and Blackrock, and we'll look at what kind of flows they had yesterday. They did see an outflow yesterday, not too surprising because of Bitcoin's red day yesterday. We'll also look at Bitcoin on the chart and something that it just did. Blackrock is making $260 million yearly from their Bitcoin and their Ethereum ETFs. They're generating $218 million from their Bitcoin ETFs and $42 million from their ETH ETFs. And Leon Weidman, who's the head of research at the nonprofit On-Chain Foundation, says that the profitability of BlackRock's crypto-focused ETFs may drive more investment giants from TradFi to launch regulated cryptocurrency-based trading products. They see what BlackRock's ETF did, and they want some too. They want a piece of that pie. And he also goes on to compare these ETFs to Amazon. These ETFs are the entry point into the crypto world. Amazon started with books before scaling to everything. BlackRock started with Bitcoin before scaling to Ethereum, scaling to potentially others. The world's largest asset manager has proven that crypto is a serious profit center. That's a $250 million business, built almost overnight. For comparison, many fintech unicorns don't make that in a decade. And this is just the beginning. The spot ETFs have been going on for nearly 2 years now at this point. It's crazy to think. But imagine where they are in 5 years, 10 years. Will BlackRock be pulling in $1 billion a year? At some point, I believe they will. And this is a very interesting cycle because we have some people that are saying, I'm going to stick to the 4-year cycle. We're going to have a crypto winter. I'm kind of on that tribe, in that group. And then we have others saying because of these ETFs, you know, they're going to prop up crypto winter. It's not going to be as bad of a crypto winter if even there is one. The growth of BlackRock's ETF is seen as evidence that institutions could extend the current crypto market cycle. Inflows from ETFs and corporate treasuries may continue to fuel demand beyond the traditional 4-year halving cycle, said by some analysts. And maybe this is a good cycle to not go all out of Bitcoin. If you in past cycles loaded up during crypto winter to wait to dump everything at the peak of that cycle, maybe it's better this time to just trim a good portion when we have a lot of euphoria, but always hold a little bit of crypto, hold a little bit of the alts. If you're unsure, if you think there isn't going to be a crypto winter and you're scared that if you sell everything, crypto winter doesn't happen, you're not going to be able to get back in at a low price, then the answer to that is hold a little bit. Don't sell everything. But no one knows if there will or won't be a crypto winter. We can only speculate. No one has the answer to that. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is the world's 22nd largest fund, up from the 31st largest in January. And this is compared to funds that have been around for years and years. It is going to continue to run up the ranks. This $89 billion, nearly $90 billion in assets under management for IBIT will soon turn into 100 billion, maybe one day will be 1 trillion locked away in these ETFs, just in BlackRock's fund alone. And I did want to quickly talk about outflows. We did see some outflows yesterday from Bitcoin. Not very surprising, we did see a bit of a red day for it. Funny enough, IBIT saw no flows. Typically on these days where you get some outflows from Bitcoin ETFs, IBIT tends to just see no flows. It's like someone's propping it up, someone's keeping it from showing a net outflow or something interesting going on there. But yeah, we saw 276 million outflow just from Fidelity's fund. ARKB saw a $52 million outflow. GBTC, which was known for massive outflows, they were a hindrance in the first year that these ETFs were live. Just a lot of selling from Grayscale, which seems to not be much of an issue anymore. Much smaller sales when they do see outflows. But yeah, IBIT, Bitwise's fund, BTCO, EasyBC, BRRR, all of these names saw zero net flows. And I'll leave this down below for you, but that basically covers what happened yesterday with the ETFs. Recently, we've been seeing more net inflows than outflows, and same with Ethereum. And I do think that's what we're going to see as we finish off this year. More inflows than outflows. I'm curious what the rest of September will bring. Typically, September is always red for Bitcoin on a peak year, which we are in. But so far, it's still in the green. But before I look at Bitcoin, I wanted to quickly mention, we've talked about this before, but the SEC is changing their standards on how they're going to allow ETFs, crypto-related ETFs. They approved general listing standards for crypto ETFs, which is a big deal. They can be fast-tracked if the underlying asset has a futures market on a regulated exchange for at least 6 months and meets other standards. And according to Galaxy, 10 tokens currently meet that criteria. Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Solana, Litecoin, Chainlink, Stellar, Avalanche, Shiba Inu, Polkadot, and Hedera. Cardano and XRP will also qualify shortly. And several applications to launch ETFs holding these coins have already been submitted. So we've likely got a lot of new ETFs on the horizon, especially with altcoins, which might be kind of what kicks off the rest of alt season. You get a lot of these approvals for certain alts, a little bit of initial excitement before the party's over. Now we do have some Cleanspark news I wanted to talk about. Cleanspark received a $100 million Bitcoin-backed credit capacity with Coinbase Prime. Because of their Bitcoin holdings, they're able to use this as collateral to take out loans, to make premium against, and they are making Bitcoin work for them. This $100 million in financing will be deployed into strategic capital expenditures, expanding Cleanspark's energy portfolio, scaling mining operations, and investing in HPC. If you haven't heard, they are talking about getting into AI. I'll leave a link down below or at the end screen that goes over this interview. But as said by Matt Schultz, we're proud to expand our relationship with Coinbase Prime as we continue to add megawatts to our portfolio, take steps towards alternative use cases for some of our data centers. We see tremendous opportunity to accelerate mining growth while simultaneously optimizing our assets, particularly those near major metro centers and in our immediate pipeline, through the potential development of high-performance compute campuses. And as some of you may know, they have changed their plans of dilution. A good part of this cycle, they haven't been diluting. They've been utilizing their Bitcoin holdings to fund operations. Delivering accretive growth using non-dilutive financing is at the core of Cleanspark's capital strategy. By God, they have changed as a company. We are excited to expand our strategic relationship with Coinbase as our business continues to evolve. Our digital asset management team will continue to drive growth and efficiency. Our infrastructure-first strategy has been proven historically and will further enhance shareholder value as we expand into more diversified compute opportunities. We've got a bit of a mixed day for the Bitcoin miners. Some are up, some are down. Cleanspark is up today. I would be cautious. It's very, very overbought. One thing I'm watching is this trend line here. This was the 2021 top, and you can see this descending resistance. We found it as resistance in 2024, right around the halving, and we are approaching it now. If we can break this resistance, I do believe 25 isn't that far away. But keep in mind, Cleanspark has run a lot in a short amount of time. Only a few weeks ago, Cleanspark was a $9 stock. It's gained about 50% from that time, only in a couple of weeks. So a little pullback may be in order, retracement, fill of some gaps, let those moving averages catch up a little bit before we break this resistance and break out and head towards 25. I'm keeping an eye out for any bearish divergences. I don't necessarily see any yet. Nothing on the daily, nothing on the weekly. The weekly is not overbought yet. The daily is quite overbought. Smaller time frames are quite overbought. So we could probably push a little bit further before we find resistance. This might become our resistance here, this nearly $16 area, which will be fine for a little bit of a coolback, a retracement. Let the RSIs reset a little bit before we get our next leg up, before we get the push. We need the juice to be able to keep us pushing through. If we consolidate here, I would love to see that. If we use this previous resistance as a support, this roughly 13 area, flip it as a support, I would love to see that. I do think Cleanspark is on its way to see $25, but it might take a little bit of time. It's not just going to happen overnight. Now, looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's been showing a little bit of weakness lately. Ever since roughly last week, right around the rate cuts actually, Bitcoin kind of started showing some weakness. Bitcoin broke its 50 MA. It broke this pattern we are watching. Now, we basically saw a bounce right here at this ascending support. This massive trend it's been in for multiple months. It looks like it just bounced at it. Bitcoin needs to hold this ascending support, and it needs to come back and take its 50 MA back. This 114,500 area, we need to reclaim the 50 MA. Keep in mind, it's September. September on a peak year is typically not great. Maybe we pull back a little more. Maybe we break this trend line and we test our September lows. This was where we started the month, 107, 108,000. I think 107, 108,000 to end this month isn't out of the question. It is possible. We could definitely see a flash crash like we have seen in past peak years. Here was 2021. We saw a flash crash before we ended the cycle on a high note, on a strong note. And the cycle before it, another peak year, 2017, we saw a very weak September. This came in towards the back half of September. But like I said, if we get a little bit of weakness in September, I do see it as a buying opportunity. If any of these past cycles are an indicator, September is always a buying opportunity before we finish off the cycle. It gives us that last chance to kind of get a good price on Bitcoin before we peak, before the cycle tops out. And I think this is going to be no different. So keep an eye on Bitcoin, keep an eye on this ascending trend. If we break it, we might retest our September lows here. Hopefully it holds up and we can bounce back over the 50 MA, work our way to 130,000 and finish this cycle around $150,000. I still think that's in play. But what say you guys? Where do you think Bitcoin tops out at? Where do you think Cleanspark tops out at? Where do you think a spot ETF like Blackrock's fund ends up in terms of assets under management. Do they reach $100 billion in assets under management? When do they reach $1 trillion in assets under management? It will happen one day, but that could be potentially multiple cycles from now. But it's exciting to think where things could be in a decade, 15, 20 years. But anyways, thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.